Welcome to the Cobcast, where we uncover the truth, ignite your mindset, and explore the realms of health, wealth, and conscious living. Join me in exploring the hidden secrets of the world, unraveling the mysteries of cryptocurrency, and also cultivating a mindset for financial health. I'm your host, Chris O'Brien, reminding you that when in doubt, it's time to zoom out and see the bigger picture. So get ready for an uplifting experience to help you come out better. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Cobcast. My name is Chris O'Brien. I'm your host. This is episode 14. In episode 14, I'm going to dive more into health. This is all about coming out healthier in a world that, well, we're starting to wake up to, that may not have the best interest at heart when it comes to how we feel, how we look physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. These are all different facets of health in itself. On the last few episodes, we were talking about crypto, talking about entrepreneurship and building wealth and business. Yet at the end of the day, if you really think about it, what good is all that if all you're doing is spending the money that you generate or make or get in return from investments to take care of your health? Whether it's be sick care, disease, small aches and pains, bumps and bruises. And so what I want to dive into on this episode 14 here is kind of like the first introduction to some of the things that I do for my health, things that I have learned, things that I have experienced, things that I've witnessed, things that I've researched about the human body and how our bodies work, and also the world outside of us. Remember, there's that balance of the inner world and the outer world. And sometimes our attention and our focus can be caught up on things we can't control. Things that they're spraying in the sky, things that they're doing to our food, things that they're doing to our water, our supplements, or even the clothes that we wear. By the way, check out this shirt. More farms, less pharma. Shout out to my guy, Josh, at CryptPros. You guys can get some of his merchandise. More farms, less pharma. I love this shirt. It's really, really cool. But it's true. We've been so used to pharmaceuticals. We've been so used to Western medicine. We've been so used to this sick disease type, reactive, responsive, allopathic, disease model. And we really don't know how to take care of ourselves. We've lost this innate touch with our ancestral wisdom, with how nature works. We've disconnected ourselves from nature. We've been so stimulated and so boxed up with technology, which has its pros and cons. Yet at the end of the day, a lot of us have become imbalanced. So that's what this episode is going to be all about. So like always, make sure you guys leave a review, like this, share this, subscribe to it. Post a comment, give it a 5-star, whatever you feel resonates, because my goal for 2025, as we wrap up 2024 and going into this brand new transition, this golden age, is to be one of the top podcasts in the world. We're going to get there. I'm going to speak this. I'm going to speak it into existence, but without you guys, it's impossible. So as always, I appreciate you being here, whether you're listening in your car, maybe you're driving, maybe you're on a trip, maybe you're hanging out after work, maybe you're at the beach or you're camping, or you're just kind of in between things and you want to kind of digest and take some good news in and good nuggets and information. I always respect it. I always thank you guys truly. This podcast is a place for me to share. It's a place for me to speak. It's a place for me to empower. Because really, if you think about it, I'm just talking with myself. Yet by the time you hear this, you are all in different parts of your life. So if you give yourself a moment, make sure you take that deep breath for yourself. Drop those shoulders away from the ears, maybe relax the jaw, become more present, get back into your body, because that is your kingdom. That is your world. And I'm excited to dive in. So episode 14, come out wealthier. I want to start talking today a little bit about first the external world. Before we get into our health, first the external world. And this is like the first introduction of our health series we're going to be having in the future. And I'm excited to bring on guests. Going into this world, we have to look at some of the systems that are involved in how we live our life. So first, one of the main things is oxygen. Now, obviously, you could go days without food, days without water, weeks without food. If you don't work out for a week, it's not like it's the end of the world. If you miss a day of your supplements, okay. But breathing, it's the number one thing. Without it, we're not alive. It's like taking a deep breath, holding it, now go live your life. And it's like this constant stress. So when it comes to the way we breathe, we've pretty much been breathing improperly. We shallow breathe, we chest breathe. We don't actually get the breath down into our belly and past our diaphragm into other parts of our body, our lower extremities. Oxygen is life. They say really death is nothing more than lack of oxygen to the brain, whether it's an accident, an injury, a heart attack, a stroke, even old age. You see people, they take their what? They take their last breath. And when you come into this world, what's the first thing you do? You breathe. You take your breath in, you're born. And when you leave this earth and you pass away, your last breath out. So in a way, our whole life is just years and years of experiences in between one inhale and one exhale. Isn't that crazy to consider? So when it comes to the air we breathe, well, what about our world we live in? And if you look outside, and for some of you may live in nature, you may be off grid or more in the suburbs. For some of us, we're in the cities, we're in densely packed areas. And so obviously, fog or smog and pollution and chemical plants, nuclear radiations, like we don't have the cleanest oxygen environment. And a lot of the oxygen has actually gone down in thousands of years. There used to be a lot more oxygen in this world. And they say that is why the trees, the plants, even the people used to be a lot bigger and stronger before. But because this depreciation of oxygen and oxygenation of the body, life may have slowed a little bit. So if you think about it, we talk about chemtrails, we talk about weather modification, we talk about those clouds in the sky that don't really look like clouds, more straight lines, or playing a game of tic-tac-toe. And we have to wake up to the fact that there is some type of systemic poisoning, intentionality of disrupting our actual atmosphere. And so what can we do? How do we protect ourselves? Well, a lot of these things that come down from the skies that are either sprayed or intentionally put out in there by the government or certain agencies and whatnot. Yes, we can make our voice heard. Yes, you can resign or sign letters and demand support and change and protect yourself. There are a lot of things in this world we just cannot control. And so as they spray these chemicals, as they spray a lot of these heavy metals, barium, strontium, mercury, aluminum is a big one, which causes a lot of issues. Remember, we're electromagnetic beings. If you ever put metal in a microwave, it's not good. So when you put metal in a human body that is conductive, and now we're being bombarded by this Wi-Fi and non-native electromagnetic frequency that is negative to our health, well, you're pretty much creating a cocktail for, dyssymbiosis, dysregulation, complete chaos. And it's finding the balance back within ourselves. So that's the first thing we have to be aware of is the air that we're breathing, the things that are coming down. How do we do maybe heavy metal cleanses? How do we make sure we clean our air in our home with an air purifier? I love Air Doctors are great. There's many brands out there. And how do we just make sure that we're breathing properly? That's really the first pillar when it comes to health. Nothing more, nothing less. We are breathing all the time, every day. And I pray that you're breathing right now. You take a deep breath as you're listening. So the second thing now you talk about, many of you think food. So a lot of people will say food is the most important thing. What you eat, your nutrition, your diet, your meals, all of these things, and fitness, workouts, exercise, those are powerful pillars. Don't get me wrong. The food that you eat is so, so important. But in terms of priority, at least for me, it's not necessarily at the top. Okay. Because we don't eat every day, maybe 3 times a day, twice a day, 1 time a day, or some of you fast. So compared to the amount of times that we take a breath or the amount of times that we work out, which is probably once a day for every other day for some of us, or once a week, food. But what is that second pillar? That's right up there with the first. And I'll give you a hint. H2O. What's the O stand for? Oxygen. What's the H2 stand for? Hydrogen. And that's what is such a passionate subject of mine that I'm going to have another episode in the future talking about water and all the different properties, the benefits, the uses, and how it's been polluted and distorted, and a lot of misinformation that we've been given about hydration, water, the structure, the phases of water in its entirety. So just for this episode, we're just going to give a sneak peek really of what that entails. And so just like they're spraying in our skies and polluting our airs with these chemical plants and factories and smog and all types of radiation, well, what about our water? Because think about it. A lot of people talk about spring water. They talk about municipal supplies. They talk about rivers and oceans. Look what we've done to Mother Nature. Look what we've done to our water. Look what we've polluted it with. We've destroyed it, contaminated it with plastic and chemicals and pharmaceuticals and metals and all sorts of different things. And so we have to realize that the way we treat our planet is the way we're treating ourselves. We're all connected. I saw a reel the other day where we're all big bowl of soup. If you dropped a few drops of poison on one side of the bowl, would you drink that bowl of soup? Probably not, because you're like, well, wait a minute, there's poison in the soup. It's on the other side of the bowl, but I'm still eating this soup. That is showing how our universe is holistically connected. We've been lied to believe that we're broken up in all these different parts, that we're subparts, subcomponents, we're all separated, and there's a mixture of hierarchy of this or that, or better or worse, and it's very linear and constructed. It's very left brain. Nature and earth and the planet and health, truly holistic health, is more on the right side of things. This is more of a web. This is a weaving. And so the way you treat nature and the way you treat the earth and trees and plants and animals is probably how you treat yourself. They say you can judge a man's character by the way he treats a human, whether it's a child or an animal. Because how helpless is a child truly? They can't defend themselves. What about a newborn animal? They can't defend themselves. So all of these things, whether it comes to hunting or fishing, and I get the indigenous practice, but for sport, for pride, for trophies, that's just the way we're treating ourselves. And so we have to wake up to this. So when it comes to water, and our body is so much water, look what we've done to our oceans. Look what we've done to our streams. We have literally polluted it so much. We have some of the worst water systems in the world here in the United States. It's highly unregulated. It's way too much. We have droughts. We have water shortages. We have companies like Nestle that come in and take water from indigenous communities, strip it from the land, package it up, and they sell it back. Imagine someone coming into your home, taking something out of your office or your bedroom. They take your closet, take your clothes, they rebrand it, put a new logo on it, and sell it to you. And you go, oh, let's get that for Christmas. And you just spent hundreds of dollars on clothes that were literally in your closet yesterday. It would make no sense. That's crazy. It's chaotic. It's absolute tyrannical. And that's what they've done to our water. And they've done it so much that it's poisoned and polluted, destructured. It has stripped it all of its life. It's demineralized. Even spring water that people talk about may not be the best for us either. You really have to pay attention to the details. So water is everything. Water is so important. It's the building blocks of life. It's very hard for life to exist without the presence of water. They talk about finding other planets that are inhabitable. Why? Because there is no water source. So we have the oxygen, we have the water. So hydration is so important. A lot of people are walking around chronically dehydrated. A lot of people are drinking water that is highly acidic, that is full of plastics, that is stripped of minerals, that is not structured, that is not being absorbed by the body, is not providing energy. And we're buying and renting it, and we're doing it for the rest of our life. It's almost crazy when you think about it. So your water source is everything. Now, a lot of people go away from tap water. They go to bottled water, eventually filtered, distilled RO water. But what's the next step? And just to give you a preview of future episodes to come, there is something called electrolyzed reduced water. This is water that actually mimics the properties of Mother Earth. Because actual living springs, like the Hunza Valley in Pakistan, for example, they have something called glacier water. Glacier water has certain properties. And Dr. Patrick Flanagan, he actually visited these places in the Hunza Valley where people were living over 100 years old. And what he discovered is not only the food that they were eating was organic, natural from the earth, the water that they were drinking was just as profound, just as powerful. Why? Because of the properties, because of the structure, because of the mineral content, because of the purification aspect. Not where it strips everything, it just removes the contaminants. And also something called free energy. And this is from electrons, a negative millivoltage, a charged water that is full with something called molecular hydrogen. Now, again, I'm just giving you a preview of the water. There'll be another episode in the future. We're going to go way deeper. It's water that I've been drinking for almost 10 years. It's helped me tremendously change my life. And we've been able to help thousands all over the world do the same. So your water is so important. Okay, whether you're filtering it, making sure it's clean, obviously, you speak life into it as it remembers memory, but make sure you're getting your adequate hydration, especially if you're stressed, if you're exerting a lot of energy, if you're working out, if you're sweating, if you're moving, even just thinking and breathing, just existing and laying in your bed for the whole day, you're literally using liters of water just to keep you alive. But what a lot of us do, we drink soda, Powerades, Gatorades, energy drinks, teas, carbonation, bubbly drinks, alcohol, beer, wine, spirits, Perrier, Pellegrinos. Water's boring. It doesn't taste like anything. And can you imagine it's the very thing that keeps us alive? So please make sure you stay hydrated. So water is number 2. And we have to realize that the water around us and our systems do not provide us with the best and cleanest water. Number 3, now we're going to get into a couple more things when it comes to our health. And before we even get to food, I'm talking mental health. mental health. And yes, the food you eat, the water you drink, the air you breathe does play a role. But for a lot of us, there's a lot of people I know that eat healthy, that exercise a lot, but mentally they are completely depressed. Maybe they are very anxious. They can't stop their thinking. They're stressed and overwhelmed, or they're beating themselves up. So I would say, without getting really into number 1, 2, 3, and 4, but just some organization, your mental health is so, so important. And that really comes from being disconnected from ourselves. We've been so disconnected from our mind. We've been so disconnected from our body. We've been so disconnected from spirit, disconnected from nature, that no matter the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe, we still feel like we have this gap. And so your mental health is right there, a part of these filters that we call come out wealthier, these pillars. Now, why is that? Because if you look in the world, a lot of people have negative thinking. It's just the world we live in. We live in a very pessimistic, negative-based world. Why? Mainstream media, celebrities, TV, news shows, horror movies, all of this type of programming that keeps us as if we're in a constant state of threat. We are in this fight or flight response. And so everything that happens to us can trigger us. It shortens our breath, dilates our pupils, releases cortisol. And literally all we did was walk to get a piece of food from the refrigerator, and someone texted us something and it threw our day off. So we have to be aware that our mental health is so important. And it's so important to be aware of all the things outside of us, how it plays a role in how we operate. Remember, we have the conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious mind. And a couple episodes back, we do go a little bit deeper into the brain, but your mental health and the way you take care of your brain is right up there with the air you breathe and the water you drink. Okay. Now, getting into a couple other things. So food, nutrition, diet, but you also have fitness, movement, exercise, and a big one, which is right up there too, is simply grounding, staying connected to Mother Earth. It's like having your smartphone, but you never plug it in to charge, right? It's like having your car, but you never put it in the driveway and you leave it in the middle of the road. You've got to stay connected to your foundation. And so when it comes to food, again, looking at the world, and why I love this shirt, less pharma, more farms, is our food system has been systemically poisoned, just like our water. They've intentionally GMO'd food. They've intentionally created mass slaughterhouses that are inhumane. They've intentionally created preservatives. We have certain food in our country that literally has chemicals and dyes that are banned in other countries. And why is it that the United States is some of the unhealthiest countries in the world? We have so much money, we have so much wealth, we have so much fame and freedom. But is that actually true? What has happened to our food? And not only the food that you and I eat, but what about our children's food? What are they serving in the grocery stores? What are they serving at these high schools and middle schools? And you look and it's full of chemicals, and it's full of chemical dyes, and it's full of preservatives. Seed oils is a big one, like actual engine lubricants, which I didn't even realize was so harmful. And so we have to realize that the world that we live in, when it comes to our food supply, these people, these corporate lobbyists that work in the food industry, they also work with the pharmaceutical industry. They work hand in hand. Why? Because the pharmaceutical industry relies on you being sick. That's big business. You being healthy, you're no longer a customer. They call you a patient, but really we're just customers to their business, to their monopoly. And so when we wake up to the fact that most of our food has been distorted, that has been stripped of its life force, that is demineralized due to the depletion of the soil, which is the microbiome of the planet, and our microbiome of our gut, which is, one will say, our second brain and our immune system and our intuition, pretty important things. Well, it's no wonder many people are walking around sick, bloated, poor digestion, bad skin, trouble sleep, low energy. And so what do? We tend to not fix our food right away. We tend to go to quick fixes like caffeine or alcohol or some medications or pills or Tylenol or Pepto-Bismol, or we try to go do this or that or force change, when really all it means is we have to get back to nature. We have to get back to simplicity, whether that's real food, whole food, organic food. And the crazy part is, you and I know this. We all know this, whether we acknowledge it or not. It's, do we live this? Do we actually live in this higher vibration? Because here's my opinion. The future is going to be bumpy, and it's also going to be smooth. It's going to be bumpy for people that are not taking care of themselves. It's going to be smooth for people that are truly taking care of themselves. So your food that you eat is so, so important. Eating home cooked meals, no more seed oils, getting rid of the pesticides, getting rid of the chemicals, getting rid of the preservatives. Heck, maybe you even have to eat raw a little bit. There's raw meat, raw dairy, whatever you choose. A lot of people talk about vegan, paleo, carnivore. Like, I've tried a lot of them. I was plant-based for 5 years. It was amazing. I recommend everyone try it because the things that I learned, the things that I cleansed from, the palate that changed, I got the benefits. Now I've incorporated animal products again, and I feel incredible. But I'm finding that balance of what works for me. And so, obviously, listening to this podcast, I'm not telling you what to eat and how to eat. It's your life. That's what this podcast is all about, is to empower you to live your life and how to remind, respect, and learn how you can operate at the highest level. So find what works for you. Find what food works for you. Find what regimen works for you. Find what routine works for you. Find how you digest. What are your favorite foods that work for you? There are so many layers to literally the self-discovery process when it comes to being the healthiest version of yourself. Yes, you can learn from others. Yes, you can learn from doctors or social media influencers or me. But at the end of the day, you know what's best. You know what's best for your health. You know what's best for your digestion. And sometimes it's hard because a lot of the foods we do eat are emotional responses, are traumatic responses, are anxiety responses. And that goes back again to our mental health pillar, our nervous system, and our emotional regulation. So as you hear me talk about these things, that's why it's so imperative that we weave this all together instead of separating it all. It's like, if I do this, I don't need to do that. If I have this, that means this needs to happen. You're separating. You can do it all. You can breathe properly, drink good water, eat good food, exercise right, and live a simple life. You can also not breathe properly, don't drink good water, eat junk food, don't move your body, and live a simple life. And that's what we're all here to do. We're all here to experience life and discover what works for us. And so your nutrition is so, so important. They say who you are is what you eat. I agree. And I also agree more that what you drink is who you are, because we are 99% water. So we got nutrition now. Now, what about the next thing? Well, I would argue, not saying this is more important than the other, because again, we all have different lifestyles. We have different regimens. Some of you have families. Some of you have multiple jobs. Some of you are remote workers. Some of you are young. Some of you are old, men or women, different hormones. There's so many variables. And that's why it's important to take information, use discernment to digest it, and then figure out what works for you. That's the biggest lesson of this whole episode. Figure out what works for you by taking nuggets that you can put the pieces together to come out wealthier, to come out healthier. Health is wealth. So what would be the next component? I would say there's two more. And the next one would be obviously movement. All right. When you stop moving, right, you're as good as dead. You're flatlined. You already don't move for 8 hours a day when you sleep. Some of you are sitting like me. I'm sitting right now, could be standing, but a lot of us sit most of our day too, at work or in our car or on our couch. So we're either laying or we're sitting. Think about that. How many hours are you laying or are you sitting? Compared to how many hours are you moving, twisting, bending, hinging, stretching, moving, crawling, walking, jumping, running, swimming, climbing, hiking? These things that we don't do enough of, maybe 30 minutes. I got my 15-minute workout. Now I'm going to sit for 9 hours and sleep for 8. Oh my gosh. And those other hours I don't have anything. I'm going to sit at dinner. I'm going to sit on the couch. I'm going to sit in the car. It's like we sit and lay for 90% of our day. Does that equate to good health? Does that help circulation? Does that help muscle contraction to give you energy? Does that help with detox, moving the lymphatic system? Does that help with digestion? How does that benefit us? It doesn't. And just like water, when water stops flowing and starts getting stagnant, well, now you start getting a stinky little pond, with all the bugs and mosquitoes and fungus and, tadpoles, and it starts to smell a little funky. That's some of our bodies. Our inner world is the outer world. And so my advice to you, my recommendation is find a way to move, find a way to break a sweat. Because when you sweat and you move and you breathe, you're starting to hit all those pillars we just talked about. They say that your muscles, when they contract, it gives off energy in terms of electrons, just like the water you drink is electron dominant, hopefully. But it also releases certain hormones and chemicals that act as a natural antidepressant. Remember, pillar 3, your mental health. And so fitness is so much more than just losing weight or gaining muscle. I was a trainer. I was a trainer for 5 years, a personal trainer, an athlete for 15. And I had colitis, acid reflux, and eczema. I didn't know how to take care of myself. I looked good on paper, but internally and mentally, I was a mess. And so if my advice I can give you is just start moving. Go for a walk. Walk after dinner. Walk first thing in the morning. Take a break, go for a walk. Don't go scroll or lay down. Find ways to get active, get outside, get in nature, go swimming, pick up a hobby, try boxing, go pick up a weight, do some body weight squats, challenge yourself. It is the best drug you can take is movement and fitness. So that's very, very important. And then the last pillar I just want to briefly mention on today's episode simply is this: it's your ability to stay grounded. Okay, back to the earthing principle. Why? Many of you are listening to me on some type of technology. Many of you are listening to me on a smartphone, on a laptop, Wi-Fi technology, whether you're watching or hearing, but there is some type of technology that is within your field. Now, what is that doing to us? And so a lot of people get this mixed up. There's a term called EMF, electromagnetic frequency. And everyone considers this bad. Well, that's false. Electromagnetic frequency, your brain gives off EMFs. Just because it's EMF does not mean it's bad. There is another term called non-native, NNEMF. This is the dirty electricity. And there's a really good book I would recommend. It's called The Invisible Rainbow. And it talks about how we live in an electrical world, a very electromagnetic world, an invisible world. They call it the invisible rainbow because a lot of the things that control our reality cannot be seen by the human eye. You cannot see the Wi-Fi signal coming off your phone. You cannot see the signal leaving your phone to call somebody. You do not see an email coming in and land in your laptop. We just get the notification, we get the phone call, we get the alarm, or we get the reminder, but we don't see the process happening. And so if you stop looking here and you start looking here, you will start to realize that we live in an electrical grid. There's satellites, there's Wi-Fi, there's telephone towers. We have this outdated electricity. Shout out Nikola Tesla. Unfortunately, he created free energy with clean electricity. But that's not profitable, right? Because the electrical companies work with the pharmaceutical companies, they work with the agricultural companies. It's one big evil club, and we're not in it. And they're finding ways to extract from us, take our energy and make us tired, weak, sick, and lazy, depopulate, and get rid of us. It's what it is. It's the bold truth, and it's hard to swallow. But good news, we're waking up. So protect yourself. I'm wearing blue light glasses. Look at the dangers of blue light. Okay, it's on your computer screen, it's on your phone screen. I have a blue light cover on my phone. The next thing you can do to protect yourself is get a phone cover. This is called Safe Sleeve. This is a military grade Kevlar cover that reduces the EMF, non-native EMF that comes off my phone. I also have a cover for my laptop right here from Safe Sleeve. I find ways to put something called these right here, which are Tesla rocks. So literally a bag of rocks, as crazy as it sounds, but in these are called Tesla rocks, and these rocks actually reduce the EMF buildup, which is pretty crazy. So there's like a Faraday cage around. Put your phone on airplane mode at night. Okay, all of these little things that you can do to protect yourself from this dirty electricity, all right? Even sleeping on a grounding mat. And so one of the best things you can do is you can go outside. I know some of you, it's the wintertime, it's cold, but you can do it. You can find a way and just connect with the earth. Whether it's putting your feet on the ground, touching a tree. Remember, they used to make fun of the hippies, the tree huggers. They probably knew something we didn't. Mother Earth is always giving off energy. How? In the form of negative ions, not positive ions. Positive ions are the things that we become too imbalanced with from poor diet, positively charged acidic water, polluted air, lack of movement, heavy metal and chemical and parasitical and candida type exposure. We can create too many protons in the body. Now we're sick. We've got to be able to flip that. How do we get that negative charge? Mother Earth's crust is a negative millivolts. Your cells healthy is a negative millivolts. And again, in the future, I'm going to do a whole episode on this type of information because it is so, so important because we just can't see it. We cannot see it. We've got to start seeing it here. So your technological health, your electromagnetic field, your aura, your meridians, your chakras, the ley lines on your body are probably right up there with all of these other pillars. And so I want to end this episode here today. It was just a simple introduction about more that we're going to talk about in the future, but really reflecting really quick. The external world, as hard as it is to say, it's not the world really God designed truly. We've abused it. We've neglected it. We've destroyed the planet. We've impacted our rivers, our mountains, our soil, our dirt, our animals, our plants, all sorts of many things. And sure, this will change. We have to change. If not, we're not going to be here. It's not going to be a long time until this is all over. But I truly believe that there's change happening. And I truly believe that you listening to this are a part of the change, whether it comes to the air that you're breathing and changing your breathing patterns, whether number two is the water that you're drinking and what you're putting in your body, making sure it's the cleanest and most abundant in energy, or number three, you got balloons, or number three, you're thinking about your mental health, taking care of your mind, your ego and your mental chatter and your anxiety and depression. All of this is in self-mastery. And then you look at the food you're eating. How clean is it? Organic is it? Maybe it's from a farm, a local farmer. These things are non-negotiables now. We have to protect ourselves. And then make sure you're moving the body, twisting the body, sweating, running, jumping, getting the blood flushing all the waste out of your cells. And then make sure you're grounded, protected from that non-native electromagnetic frequency. So I pray this gave you a little bit of insight. Share this just to give maybe someone waking up to their health. That was the first thing when I took the red pill years and years ago. First thing I was like, oh my gosh, we've been poisoned. I got to get healthy. I got to turn my health around. And ever since I made a commitment to coming out healthier, my life has changed. My health has gone up. My wealth has gone up. My mindset, my emotional stability, spiritual connection, and things just keep getting better and better and better. I'm coming out better. And so can you. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Remember, share, like, subscribe, leave a review, 5 stars below, and we'll see you on episode 15. Best is yet to come.